Why are you talking about Charlie Kirk? Here's why. Not only because here's an innocent man who is now dead. Why? Because he went on college campuses and talked to students and professors and anyone who was willing to talk with him. That's a problem.
Many on the internet, though shaken by the killing of Charlie Kirk, still struggle to reconcile the fact that he was provocative in his opinions, debated relentlessly, and often seemed to impose his views on others, a style many consider offensive and intolerant. Yet setting aside his provocations and argumentative tone, the real question remains, what was he actually arguing about? Was it merely his personal opinions, or was it the pursuit of objective truth? In the next clip, Father Mike steps in to cut through the noise and reveal the crucial difference between subjective truth and objective truth.
What is truth? I would say this. I'd maintain the case that truth is simply what is, right? A statement is either true or false to the degree that it conforms to reality. So if I were to say there is a Christmas tree behind me, that statement is true to the degree that it conforms to reality. If I were to say there's a palm tree behind me, that statement is not true because it does not conform to reality. It makes sense? Okay. So a statement is either true or false to the degree that it conforms to reality. That there's two kinds of truth. There's subjective truth and objective truth.
As Father Mike explains, objective truth is reality as it actually is, unchanging and independent of our feelings, preferences, or opinions. It exists outside of us whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. By contrast, what many call subjective truth is not really truth at all. It is merely personal perception, preference, or desire. To put it simply, objective truth is what is, while so-called subjective truth is merely what you want to see. Building on this foundation, in the following clip, Father Mike deepens the conversation, showing what happens when entire societies are driven only by subjective truth. And he illustrates this collapse through 3 scenarios. Let's listen to the first scenario.
Well, let's take a vote. And we say, okay, the majority wins. If the majority says X is true, then that's fine, that X is true. If the majority says that non-X is true, then okay, non-X is true. And all that is mob rule. And we've seen so many examples of this over the course of history where a group of people says, oh, hey, we all think that this group of people is not, they aren't humans. They're not worthy of dignity. They're not equal to us. And you're like, wait, that's wrong. So mob rule is not the answer.
As Father Mike explains, that first scenario is what we call democracy, as most countries know it, where everyone votes and the majority wins. Yet history and human experience have shown time and again that the passions of the crowd can be easily stirred and the minds of men can quickly be swayed by rhetoric and propaganda. And when truth is replaced by mere opinion, absolute democracy can swiftly descend into disastrous decisions and unjust laws. Consider this, if 51% of population were to vote to strip the God-given rights and inherent dignity of the other 49%, then by logic of pure democracy, such a move would still be considered legal. But from the perspective of Catholic teaching, it would be nothing short of a tyranny, because the Church reminds us that the true justice flows not from numbers or majorities, but from the objective moral law written into creation by God Himself. This is why America was wisely founded not as an absolute democracy, but as a constitutional republic with checks and balances to guard the rights of the individual. As Scripture wants, vote to those who call evil good and good evil. A stark reminder that majority vote does not make evil just. With that in mind, Father Mike now transitions to the next scenario.
Well, would you say, okay, all we have is subjective truth? Might makes right. So whoever's stronger, whoever's louder, whoever's more powerful, whoever has more influence, yeah, that's where we go in our culture, or that's where we go in the world. And yet, that's no way to live either. We disagree, so I punch you, now I win. Or we disagree, so I shoot you, and now I win.
The second scenario that Father Mike lays out is absolute tyranny. This is where the will of the strongest person is imposed on everyone else, regardless of reason, justice, or the dignity of the human person. In such a system, the ruler's word becomes law, not because it reflects truth or serves the common good, but because it flows from raw power and fear. Clear examples of this can be seen in certain Middle Eastern countries historically and even today, where kings and authoritarian leaders rule unchecked and the people are expected to conform without question. From a Catholic perspective, this kind of rule is gravely deficient because it elevates human authority above the law of God and denies the truth that all power is given conditionally, entrusted by God to serve the people, not to dominate them. History reminds us every empire built on raw power rather than truth eventually crumbles. For unless the law builds the house, those who built it labor in vain. Having seen this, Father Mike now turns to the third and final scenario.
Or the third option is, we just disagree. Someone says, A is true. No, non-A is true. A is true. Non-A is true. You know what? Let's just not talk anymore. You go live your life. Now think about this. We think that, again, subjective truth, and all there is subjective truth, if we say that, is the best way to be tolerant. But it ends up either being mob rule, might makes right, or we're more divided than ever.
This third scenario reflects the cultural climate we live in today. A culture where people say, you have your truth and I have mine, where the highest form of civility is thought to be never challenging one another's opinions, but simply coexisting without conflict. At first glance, this looks like a noble solution. It seems tolerant, peaceful, and respectful of diversity. It allows each person to feel affirmed in their own perspective while avoiding the discomfort of honest debate or the friction that comes with the pursuit of truth. But beneath the surface, this so-called tolerance is no solution. It's a dangerous illusion. A society built on subjective truth abandons the very ground on which justice, order, and peace must stand. When objective truth is denied, nothing remains higher than the will of the individual, and sooner or later, competing wills will collide. What begins as polite indifference, you do you and I'll do me, slowly erodes into a struggle for dominance. Because without an objective standard to measure right from wrong, the only measure left is raw power. And once power becomes the ultimate currency, history shows it always ends in violence and revolution. As Pope Benedict XVI warned, a culture without truth will not be free. It will be enslaved by the dictatorship of relativism. Now finally, in the last clip, Father Mike offers the solution, a return to the grounding of society in objective truth rooted in God himself. Let's listen.
Thanks be to God, there is. It's called objective truth, where there are certain things that are true at all times and all places for all people, and they're true or false regardless of whether you know it, like it, or believe it. We at some point when we're honest, we know that there are things that are true at all times, at all places, for all people, and they're true or false, whether we know it, like it, or believe it. Now, here is what Charlie Kirk would do. He'd go on a college campus, and he would say, he would have the mentality of like, of course, I can tolerate your opinion. Of course, I can and I can accept you, but let's debate objective reality. Like I can accept that this is what you prefer, is what you think. That's wonderful, but we're going to pursue together objective truth. And I would say this, I would maintain that is...
In conclusion, I would like to close with an observation, one that ties directly into the life of Charlie Kirk. What set Charlie apart on those college campuses was that he tolerated the presence of differing opinions. He did not silence students who disagreed with him. Instead, he entered into debate with them generously, relentlessly, because he believed that ideas must be tested against the light of objective truth. And objective truth, as Father Mike reminds us, is the same for everyone. It cannot be reshaped by personal opinion or preference. That was the heart of Charlie's mission, to challenge, to engage, and to call people beyond mere subjectivity. And for daring to stand in that arena and proclaim that truth is real, that truth is objective, and truth cannot be bent to suit our whims, for that they killed him. May Charlie Kirk's soul rest in peace.